For those of you who will be watching this video at a later date, today is September 20th, 2025. Just a little over a week since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And this is the first time that I'm recording a video for this channel since that occurred and all the aftermath of it. And when I was preparing for this recording, I was asking myself, is this something that I was going to bring up? Is this something that I should address in some way, shape, or form? And to be honest with you, I didn't think that I would. I didn't think that I would even be discussing it. Not because I don't think it's important. I think the discussions around what happened and why they happened and what it means for this nation are very important. And it's not because I don't care. I care deeply. I end up finding that I care more than I thought I would. I care that a wife lost her husband, children lost their father, and this nation lost somebody who was willing to speak truth. So it's not because I don't care. It's not because I don't think it's important. But the reasons I didn't think I was going to address it is, number one, I'm still processing things. I was not somebody who followed Charlie Kirk on a daily basis, but I really enjoyed what he did. I applauded what he stood for. I believed in a lot of what he stood for. When his stuff would come up on my social media or whatever, I would stop and listen to it, and I very much appreciated everything he did, but it still hit me harder than I thought it would. And then on the other hand, this really was not what the channel was for. I mean, that is very much a political thing, and this channel was built for personal development and learning how to become the best possible version of yourself. I mean, I certainly think that as you grow in personal development, as you become the best possible version of yourself, it will change how you look at politics. It may change what you believe. I can tell you that all of these people celebrating this tragic situation, they are not living the best possible versions of themselves because they're doing a whole lot of stuff in ignorance and stupidity. But those were the reasons I wasn't thinking that I was going to address this at all. But in the process of just watching the aftermath of all this, there was a particular clip that I saw multiple times that happened just a few months before Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I did feel like this addressed very closely the idea of personal development and living your best life, becoming the best possible version of yourself. And it's this clip right here.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
How would you like to be remembered? You know, I think that is a very important question. I think some people might consider that a cliche question. Some people might consider that fluff. But I actually think it's a pretty profound question. And I think Charlie answered it beautifully for himself. And when I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about what video I'd want to do, and that clip kept coming up, I began to think about that question for myself, and how important that is in the quest to live the more intentional life. Because really, if you're going to be the best possible version of yourself, that should be how you want to be remembered, right? If you want to be remembered a certain way, then the best possible version of yourself is the version that embodies all of the things you want to be remembered for. And I think that's very closely connected to what we talk about here. But in the process of just thinking about that question, meditating on it, I had another question come up that I don't think I've ever been presented in terms of how I think about how I want to be remembered. And the question is this: if you know how you want to be remembered in life, then are the things you're doing right now, the way you're living your life, your behaviors, your habits, your decisions, are all of those leading to people actually remembering you the way you want to be remembered. I think in Charlie's case, he did live the way he wanted to be remembered. I think he became the best possible version of himself in the fact or the way of thinking that he said, I want to be remembered for somebody who was courageous for my faith. And I believe it's been evident since this thing happened, that is how people are remembering him. Just this morning, I was on social media and I saw quite a few clips of people who were going on social media, going online and saying, I'm going to church for the first time in my adult life. I'm going to church for the first time in 3 years. I'm going to church for the first time ever, and I'm doing it for Charlie Kirk. Why would they be going to church for Charlie Kirk if they're not remembering his faith? And he was obviously had to be courageous enough to speak his faith when it wasn't popular. Somebody could be going online and saying, I'm going to my first MAGA rally for Charlie Kirk, and that would be fine. But so many people are saying, I'm going to church for the first time. Why? Because Charlie Kirk became the best possible version of himself by embodying everything necessary to be remembered how he wanted to be remembered. So again, the question for you is, for those of you who know how you want to be remembered, are you living the life? Are you developing the habits? Are you having the behaviors necessary? Are you embodying everything that would cause you to be remembered the way you want to be remembered? And if the answer is no, the next question you have to ask yourself is, then what are you going to do about it? If you want to be remembered a certain way, what do you have to change? What do you have to stop doing? What do you have to start doing to be remembered the way you want to be remembered? Because that is your path to becoming the best possible version of yourself. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, Chris, I've never actually thought about it. I don't really know what I'd want to be remembered for. And when I ask you the question, what do you want to be remembered for? Sometimes people ask you the one thing you'd want to be remembered for. I think you can desire to be remembered for multiple things, but different things, but they should all be very important to you. But you may not have ever thought about it. You may have never thought about, what do I want to be remembered for? Well, then I would ask this question of you, based on how you're currently living, your actions, your behaviors, your habits, the way you're living right now. How do you think you'd be remembered? Because here's the truth of the matter is, all of us are going to be remembered by somebody. Now, not all of us are going to have the blessing of touching millions of people's lives like Charlie did and being remembered by millions of people, but all of us are going to be remembered by somebody, friends, family, coworkers. And if you've never asked yourself how you want to be remembered, ask yourself, how will I be remembered? And you have to be brutally honest with yourself in asking this question if you want to see the truth. Some people have things they've never dealt with in life that maybe they would be considered a character flaw. Maybe they would be considered just a struggle you have, but they never dealt with them. And that's going to be what they'll be remembered for. Are you happy with your answer in this? I have a loved one who's no longer with us, passed on a number of years ago. The way I remember this person is that they were angry all the time. That's how I remember them. Now, I love them. They were family. But when I think back on all my interactions with this person, they just seemed so angry. Now, that might be an unfair remembrance because I left where the area I grew up. I left a lot of my family. I went to Bible college. I got married. I moved to Texas. I moved away from my family, didn't get to see him very much. So in his later years, he may have softened. He may have changed. I don't know. But I remember him as a very angry person. And even if he did change, I think that points out how important it is for how you're living right now, is what you're doing right now, how you want to be remembered. Because here's the thing in personal development, particularly people who are chasing entrepreneurship, people who want to build side hustles and build financial security. This hustle culture, so many of us in this space, we might think to ourselves, well, if I can just really focus and give it everything I have for the next 3 years, I can build this business or I can build this dream, and I'm doing it for my family. And if, I might have to work 80 hours a week for the next 3 years or 5 years, but after that, things will change. Well, we're not promised tomorrow. And you might be doing all of this for your family, but if you would for some reason pass on in the next 3 or 5 years, what you're doing today is how you're going to be remembered. You're not going to be remembered for afterwards when you had all the stuff that you had dreamed of and now you're going on the vacations and now you're being present with your family. No, you're going to be remembered for what you're doing right now. And if you're not present right now, if you're never there right now, if for some reason you don't get to where you want to be, you're going to be remembered for that. And the question is, are you okay with being remembered for that? Now, I'm all into working hard. I'm into being diligent, and I know there are sometimes you need to sacrifice, but some sacrifices are too much. Sometimes, if you think, "Oh, if I could just fully focus on this thing and for somehow just put my family aside for 3 years and fully focus on this, it will be fine." What if you didn't do that, but it took 6 years or 10 years to build that thing you're wanting to build? I don't think being able to do it that much faster is worth the sacrifice of your kids remembering you just never being there, never being present. And so that was just the thought I had for this video. I know a few of the things that I would want to be remembered for, and I'm working toward those. I haven't embodied all of them 100%, but I was thankful that I could answer that question in the affirmative. Yes, I'm living my life in a way that I would be remembered for the things that I really do want to be remembered for. But some of us are not doing that. And I think this is an opportunity as a wake-up call, just like Charlie did embody the things and he's being remembered how he wants to be remembered. All of us can change what we're doing, change how we're living. We can begin to live the more intentional life. We can do the things necessary to become the best possible version of ourselves and be remembered the way we want to be remembered. And if that's what your desire is, that's what we're here for, to live the more intentional life. If you want to learn more about living the more intentional life and seeing some of the tools out there to become the best possible version of yourself so you can be remembered the way you desire to be remembered, you can check out this playlist right here. But until I see you again, go out and live that more intentional life.